All right, looks like we've got people joining in, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, my name is Jackie Wells, and I am the health planner for the Healthy St. Mary's Partnership. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for joining us for our today's session of our Eat, Live, and Be Healthy webinar series. Just a few housekeeping things here before we go ahead and get started. During this session today, housekeeping things here before we go ahead and get started.
Uh-oh.
I think I got rid of that echo on my end. That was my fault. I'm using
Uh-oh.
I think I got rid of that echo on my end. That was my fault. I'm using
Uh-oh.
I think I got rid of that echo on my end. That was my fault. I'm using All right, we're going to see if that went away this time. All right, it's 2021. I said to Terri before we started, it wouldn't be 2021 without some technical difficulties. All right, it's 2021. I said to Terri before we started, it wouldn't be 2021 without some technical difficulties. No, we are still echoing. All right, it's 2021. I said to Terri before we All right, Terri, I just turned off the sound on my laptop to see if it's coming from there. Are we still echoing now?
Talk, it starts to replay what you've just said. So does that make sense to you? Yeah. Like when you're speaking, there isn't an echo.
One second, everyone, while we try to figure out where that echo is coming from. All right, let's see if that got rid of it. All right, I think we're good this time. I'm so sorry, everyone. Again, it's 2021 and we gotta love technology. Okay, so a few housekeeping things for us here. Before we get started, if you are viewing live, please feel free to post questions in the comment function on the platform that you're viewing from, be that Facebook or YouTube. If you, for any reason, are unable to use that comment function, then you can submit questions to St. Mary's Partnership at gmail.com, which is right there on the screen right now. I'll be monitoring that email throughout today's session. If you're viewing the recording of the session, feel free to also send us over an email to St. Mary's Partnership at gmail.com, and I'll be happy to follow up with Terri with that question. So now I would like to welcome our presenter this evening, Terri Verbic-Boggs with Partners in Health. Terri is a registered nurse, an AADP certified health and nutrition coach, and a functional medicine practitioner. And welcome, Terri.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And hopefully all the glitches are gone. We've had quite a time. So I just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy lives to come and join us. And I also just want to thank you, Jackie, for inviting me. I'm super excited about sharing with you all. I love to teach. I love to mentor and educate and empower is my big word. I love to empower you all to take charge of your health. And I think there's no better topic right now as we launch into, as you're already launched into the holiday season and into the hustle and bustle, I'm sure, is just to really talk about what I shared with you when we chatted about topics, surviving the holiday madness, and I a lot of times say, are we going to create calm or chaos? And I choose the calm. And I really want to talk to you about holistic approaches to wellness. So I'll give you a 2-second version of my background so you understand where I'm coming from. I am a product of all the programs I'm going to tell you about. I am a product of, I have done lots of things not the right way. And so I want to share with you my pitfalls and share with you my successes in helping you to navigate your own health and to feel better and not maybe make some of the pitfalls that certainly many of us have. Been in healthcare for over 30 years. over 40 years since I was a baby. And will tell you that I've seen lots of dysfunction. And I think that we have a very broken medical healthcare system right now, unfortunately. So we have to more than ever be advocates for our own health. And I think it's really just crucial to take charge of your health and to ask questions and to know the right questions to ask and to really educate yourself about how you can just better serve yourself. And then in effect, because of that, serve your families and your community and everything else. So I'm going to share the screen, if that's okay, Jackie, and we'll see if you can see the PowerPoint, because I do have some things that I want to share with you related to just overall wellness and health. And let's see, where did it disappear to? Let's see. All right, Jackie, can you tell me if you can see that okay?
I can, yep.
Okay, so hopefully everyone else can see that. So what we're just talking about, surviving the holiday madness, holistic approaches to wellness. And what I mean by holistic, you hear that word a lot and you're like, I don't even have a clue what you're talking about. Sometimes people say natural health options. I'm sick and tired of taking all these pills. I want to do something different. And it is a possibility. It absolutely is a possibility. I work every day. I have an office in Leonardtown. I work every day with clients as a health coach now, 40 plus years in the actual trenches of healthcare, either hospital setting or long-term care, and then stepped back to do what I love doing, which is health coaching. So I am actually a functional medicine practitioner. What that means to you, that word functional medicine kind of goes hand in hand with this holistic approach, natural health. They all get used synonymously. Here's what I want to clarify for all of you. It does not mean that we throw out all our pills and we just start fresh. It does not. There is a place for medicine. There is a place for holistic health, natural healing, and all of that. And the two go hand in hand together. You work together, and I call it complementary medicine because that's what they do. They complement each other. So it's not about ditch the pills and whatever, although I have lots of clients who are very happy because we are getting them off of their medications. Lots of health stories and success. So we'll share that as well and tie all that into what we want to talk about tonight, which is stress, just surviving the holiday madness, as I call it, and holistic approaches to wellness. Okay. So we're going to talk a bunch about self-care tips kind of halfway through. I want to set the stage for you first of, let's back up a little bit. We all know, if I said to you right now, what are 2 or 3 things that you know you could do better or do for yourself from a wellness standpoint? You'd be like, oh, I know all the same old stuff. I need to exercise more. I need to eat better. And I probably need to sleep. We know that, but doing it is a whole different story, right? Because of lots of things that are going on. So what I want to share with you is a different kind of twist on how do we get there? We know what we need to do, but how do we really get to do that? And before we do that, I want to set the stage with you in relation to what can happen when you don't stay on target. And this has nothing to do with the store Target. After I put this together and one day last week, I thought that looks like the Target symbol. It probably is. Nothing to do with the store. Just I tell everybody, you got to keep your immunity on check, especially as we go through the winter season of crud here, and just to keep everything in target, in focus. And so for me, the acronym TARGET stands exactly what I have here. Stands for toxins. We talk about food and the garbage stuff that's in our foods and our personal care products. The United States, I will tell you, has the most toxins in our foods. There are a lot of, almost all the European nations have band together, developed a European Union, and they have banned a lot of that stuff. But we still have a lot of it here because we're not up to speed with all of that. I'll just leave it at that. We're going to talk about antioxidants, meaning things to fight against stress and aging, the effects of that. And we're going to talk about stress, particularly, and what happens to our body. Sleep and stress absolutely are important. I put them under the R for rejuvenation. Gut health. I will share with you, when I became a health coach about 12 years ago, nutrition and health coach, and now in the past year, functional medicine practitioner, I never realized that our gut health has everything to do. It should have been named our brain because it is our second brain, really. If your gut's not right, your hormones can't be right. Your weight loss efforts will never be right. Your overall energy, your thyroid, so many things will not be right if your gut is messed up. And every day I see clients in my office. We do zytoscanning. We do deep health history of what's been going on, putting lots of clues together. And the thing that I tell people all the time, no pun intended, my gut feeling is you have a gut full of parasites or heavy metals or pesticides, insecticides, bacteria, fungal overgrowth. And guess what? We scan them and yep, it's all there and we fix it. But gut health is so crucial. And we're all walking around with those things in our gut and have no idea. We're like, well, how would I know? And where did that come from? It came from our food. It came from the stress in our life. So I'm excited to be able to talk to you about stress because that's going to help your gut and get you through the holidays with all the holiday eating, right? So the E and the T are things that would be another talk another day maybe, but essential nutrients and knowing what your vitamin levels are and specific things that can affect your overall health as well, and particularly with stress, and we'll go there in a little bit later. And then therapeutic interventions, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight. So I want to share with you, when you think about this for a second, kind of pose this question to you. What are the energy robbers? What are the things that are stealing your joy? What are the things that, or the people, or the situations that are pushing your buttons, that are pushing you over the edge, that make you feel like, I just can't go another stinking minute. I'm done. I'm so exhausted and I'm done. So the energy robbers in my mind, and I put people first because let's face it, I mean, it's hard, right? I had someone say to me yesterday, is it bad to think that I'm just sick of dealing with people? And I said, no, it's not bad in the sense you've been through a lot. And here's what we need to do is regroup and let me help you. 2020 was a nightmare for us. We know that. We expected 21 to be a little better. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. A lot of you are dealing with a lot of things. I'm hoping at the end to have a touch a little bit also on grief, because grief and stress go hand in hand together. And it is the holiday season. And so many people grieve during the holidays. It's not all glorious, Christmas carols and presents and shopping and fun for everyone. It's not. So we're going to also touch base on that. But if you had to name one, you might say, gosh, Terri, I could check 3 of those right now. People, work, home, the foods that we're eating, the environment that we're surrounded in. What is it that you think is your number one, or maybe number 1 and 2 ideas that are stealing your joy, that are stealing your energy, that are robbing your health? I call it hacking your health. What would it be for you? Okay. So I want to give you a little teeny bit of medical stuff so you understand where I'm going and why I'm so emphatic about us talking tonight a lot about your adrenal glands. So give me a second here. There's no test at the end, I promise. I just want to share with you, and I love this slide because it makes sense. Most of you work in some kind of a business. You have a CEO, you have managers, you have supervisors, you have whatevers. So in your body, in our brain, we have a hypothalamus, and it truly is the brain of the whole body. It is in charge of everything. It's the CEO. And then the pituitary gland is what helps, what we probably know and maybe have never heard of. But the pituitary is really, really important for hormone regulation, for energy, for all kinds of things. The pituitary is the master. It's the manager. It's like the shift supervisor that tells all these other body organs what to do, when to do it, how much, slow down, speed up. It tells you all of that. So we can't go through all of these tonight, but I will just tell you very quickly, the pineal gland is absolutely important for sleep because it dumps out, or is supposed to anyway, dump out melatonin for you so that you can go to sleep when it's time to go to sleep. And I'm going to share some things with you as far as health hacks and things that you can do right now, holistic ways that you can help that pineal gland and allow it to dump out melatonin. And it has to do with this computer that we're on right now. Okay. So we'll get there. Hold that thought. So thyroid, lots of people are walking around saying, my doc said my thyroid's fine, but I swear I feel like it's not. I just don't feel good. And I see people all the time and I say, bring me your lab work. And we sit down, we go through everything. I talk about all the symptoms, and guess what? Their thyroid is not fine. What's happened is many healthcare practitioners, and they were trained to look at one level, TSH, that's it. That's not a full picture. So when we get the full picture and look at everything, we go, here's the situation. Get the thyroid back where it needs to be. Bam, they're golden. They're doing great. So lots of stuff there. We could have another whole session on ovaries and testicles and tubes and reproductive hormones. We won't. Just know that the pituitary is in charge of that too. Pancreas. Any of you who are diabetic, you know about your pancreas. You know that you need to have a pancreas that's secreting insulin and helping to regulate blood sugars, right? Adrenal glands, a lot of people haven't heard of, and I want to really focus on that tonight because the adrenal glands there's a staggering list, and I'm going to go through it with you, of vital functions that they have. So many things that the adrenal glands are responsible for. Most people don't know that. And why am I talking about all this? Because this all has to do with stress and that whole stress response. When we're in overload, all of these things get wonky, as I call it. Okay. So I want to talk about the adrenal gland functions and just show you, if you've never heard of it, or like I had no idea that we even had an adrenal gland. You have two. You have one that sits on top of each kidney. And so if you only have one kidney, then you would have one adrenal gland, but they have nothing to do with kidney function. They just sort of rent space from the kidneys. Okay. So you can see these funny looking little yellow, triangular and round. They don't match. Okay. So they look different, but the different shapes, they sit on top of the kidneys and they regulate a lot in your body. Listen to this really quick. Affects how we think, how we feel, helps us to cope with stress. And that is the main function of the adrenal glands that I teach people about. Your adrenal glands are the stress regulators for your body. Yikes, right? When we say that, you're like, oh, well, mine are really in trouble because they're in overload because I'm always stressed out. Okay, there you go, right? Is that what you're thinking? They also affect, though, other organs, other tissues, lots of other glands. They're responsible for hormone production, not reproductive sexual hormones. They help to dump out hormones that help to decrease inflammation in the body or increase inflammation. They dump out things we're going to get to in a second, adrenaline and cortisol. Extremely important for you as far as this whole health thing and trying to stay sane through the holidays and beyond. Okay. They also, adrenals can affect your sleep and your wake cycles for sure. Look at this list. This all has to do with digestion. Utilization of carbohydrates and fats. It also helps convert fats and proteins into energy. If we aren't doing this because we've exhausted our adrenal glands, then we can eat things that we think are healthy and good for us, but we're not breaking them down. We're not utilizing them, and our body's not functioning the way it should. I emphatically ask all of you to make sure that you know what your vitamin D level is. If you've never had one checked, get it checked next time and say, it has so much to do with stress. And when you have stress, absolutely depletes vitamin D in your body. And when you don't have enough vitamin D, you can't do these things. You cannot digest your foods and break them down and get the good nutrients. So I see many people in my office as I do health coaching with them, and they're like, but Terri, I'm eating good, healthy stuff, but I still feel like crap. I'm like, let's look to see if you've got enough digestive enzymes. What is your vitamin D level? Once we get all those things tweaked, they are happy. They're golden. They're feeling better. All those things come back. So tuck that in your head or jot it down right now. Vitamin D level. If you've never had one done, you need to get it done because 80% of people are running around with a low vitamin D level. And we need vitamin D more than just for bones and joints. We need it for our digestion. We need it for energy. We need it for lots of things. Okay. So the adrenals also are in charge of, because of those hormones and things, they help with regulation of blood sugars. They help with heart function and, as I said, GI function, your gastrointestinal. But they also have a big factor and play a factor in weight distribution in your middle section. So if you all of a sudden start gaining weight and you're like, I've got this like belly now, I've got this roll that I never had before. Any of you ladies who are listening to me and who are in the premenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal area, everybody says, oh, don't worry about it. That's just your menopausal middle. That happens when you go through menopause. It doesn't have to happen that way. And it doesn't happen to all of us. It happens because of the extra cortisol and the stress that we're under. Okay. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And then if that wasn't enough of a job for the adrenals, here's even more. Balancing electrolytes, helping to keep us kind of stabilized there. Controlling, or helping to balance negative and reactions and allergic reactions to foods, to drugs, to all kinds of things. So it's really important for that as well. Sex hormones for women after menopause. And look at that last one, controls sex drive and the tendency to gain weight, especially in that middle section. And that's true for guys and gals. The gals especially, it really affects us more. Okay. Lucky us, right? So what's the problem? Why is there such a dysfunction? Why the breakdown? Here, basically, that one, 6-letter word, stress, all right? STRESS, whether it is physical, emotional, environmental stress, it could be psychological stress, it could be chronic infections going on in the body. All of that can create stress, and they all deplete your adrenal glands. And your adrenals, because it's their job to regulate stress, they're like, we got it. We're working, we're doing what we can do. And it will do that for a while and it will compensate for you. But eventually it says, time out. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm done. I can't do this. And then we start to see all these symptoms. And so that's what I want to share with you real quick so we can kind of set the stage for, geez, am I there yet? This is probably worse than I thought it was going to be. Okay. What affects it? Lots of things we just talked about, all of the stress things that we talked about, but more than just the life issues, it can be the body issues we talked about too. If you've got the infections, which we talked about, drugs can put a big strain on it too, prescription drugs. Or for that matter, and think about it, but yeah, not just prescription drugs, could be, illegal drugs as well, street drugs, diet. I can't get into all that tonight with you, but that's what I do for a living and help people. So we can certainly do that another time, is talk more about the diet and all of that. I will say this related to diet: sugar, gluten, and dairy are the 3 most inflammatory foods that you can eat. Sugar, gluten, and dairy. So if you're not familiar with gluten, it's a protein that's found in wheat flour, white flour. So all of the good stuff with the cakes, the pies, the pastas, all that stuff that's made with wheat products or white flours, any of that, that all contains gluten, and it can wreck your gut. I'm living proof of it. When I fell apart about 12 years ago, no doctors could figure out what was going on. And I kept saying, something's wrong. All of a sudden, just like it doesn't make sense to be perfectly healthy, very fit, teaching aerobic classes 5 nights a week. And then I had to stop everything because I could barely walk. And if I listened to everyone that I saw, all the specialists, I would be on probably 7 different meds now and still be feeling horrible. And I said, nope, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to figure this out. And I did. And now that's why I'm like so passionate and on fire to help you figure out for yourself so you don't go through the hell that I went through. Absolutely. That's where my heart is. Okay. So I'm living proof to tell you sugar, the gluten, and dairy. Dairy is not everyone's best friend. So I'll just leave that as an extra little gift to you, a little nugget of information. Lifestyle, I won't go through all that, but we know if we don't eat, if we don't exercise, if we don't get any sleep, if we are, smoking, if we are drinking excess in alcohol, whatever, we won't go there tonight as well. I just want to set the stage for stress. Adrenal glands are struggling. What can I do? How do I get through this? And how is it affecting me? So I mentioned hormones. The adrenal glands secrete. The 2 main things I want you to remember is that they secrete cortisol and adrenaline. If you had a short term, like, oh, something happens and scares you to death, maybe you're in traffic and somebody pulls out in front of you and you're like, put the brakes on and you're like, shoo, my heart was pounding. I felt all sweaty. Oh, I thought I was going to die literally, but ooh, I'm good now. That's adrenaline. And people say, oh, my adrenaline was pumping. I was so scared. That's adrenaline. Adrenaline is intended for a little short-term thing and then boom, it's over with. But cortisol is the day after day after day after day, minute after minute, stress, people pushing your buttons constantly, feeling like you're on that treadmill and nobody will let you off, having way too many responsibilities, not knowing how to say no, right? Over accountability, overdoing it. I call it being the type E person, which is being everything to everybody. And then shortchanging ourselves, not taking care of ourselves. I know I'm speaking to your heart right now. I know it because we're all alike. So cortisol and adrenaline, they are stress hormones and they help to respond to what we call fight or flight. Am I going to get scared and hide in the corner, or am I going to fight and run? What am I going to do? That's all adrenaline. That's all cortisol. And that's all the main purposes of these 2, but adrenaline is more short-term, calm, go back to normalcy. Cortisol is when we're constantly under the gun and that cortisol is getting pumped out. And that is the main cause of stubborn belly fat that you can't get rid of is cortisol. I'm going to say this here and you're going to hear me say it probably 4 more times. Cortisol is also the major disruption for sleep. If anyone says, I just saw it yesterday, a friend of mine said, okay, I'm exhausted. I'm going to try to go to sleep, but I'll bet you anything, I'll be awake by 3 a.m. And I thought, I hear that all the time from people. I can't shut the brain off at night. Or I get a second wind. I'm exhausted in the afternoon and then I get a second wind at night and then I'm wide awake. Or I go to bed without any problems and I go to sleep and then 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm wide awake and I'm awake for hours. That's all cortisol related, folks. That is cortisol and stress. Okay. And we can fix it. We absolutely can fix it. Promise. Cortisol also will cause you to crave sugar. So if you're like, I don't know what is wrong with me, but now all I want is sugar, sugar, sugar. That is cortisol. That's cortisol. And maybe low magnesium and maybe some other things. We talk about the target analogy that I gave you and looking at essential nutrients. So magnesium is one of those. If you have a low magnesium, not only will it cause constipation for you, but it absolutely will cause you to crave chocolate, especially, right? And somebody told me this a while back. I just share this with you. Stressed, spelled backwards, is desserts. Go figure, right? All right. So adrenals and cortisol levels, when I work with people and we figure all this out, we actually look at what's going on very deeply and then figure out, are you in a stressed out mode where you have high cortisol levels throughout the whole day? It's just constant cortisol, or are you beyond that where your body's like, I can't do this anymore now, and I'm going to cause some more problems for you. And so you can see where you have the wired and tired, where you might have, daytime, like in the morning time, you're like, no cortisol. I can't get out of bed. Oh, I don't want to start my day till 10 or 11. I have to have 3 cups of coffee to get started. If that sounds like you, you're in the wired and tired category. And then for the people who are like, I don't care if it's morning or night, I'm wiped. I am wicked tired. I can't do this anymore. I'm struggling. And those are the people we call crashed, who have low levels throughout the day. So there's varying degrees of adrenal fatigue and adrenal issues and dysfunction, and I help you get through all of that. Okay. How would you know? You say, well, how would I know that? Well, I mentioned some of them to you: not being able to sleep, craving the chocolates and all those things. If you're diabetic and you're trying to balance blood sugars, having these erratic, crazy blood sugars all over the place, or having frequent dips where you drop way down and you have hypoglycemia, that's a classic cortisol sign of cortisol imbalance. It could very much be that. Food allergies, increasing food allergies. You say, I never had this before. Now I do. Craving salty foods can also be symptoms of any of that. There's a whole list here: anxiety, depression. I meet people all the time, and maybe this is you, particularly now when we're in the whole this whole holiday cycle of like, gee whiz, I feel so overwhelmed. There's so much to do. I don't have enough time. I can't keep up. And what's happening, and I can't remember things. I'm having trouble concentrating. I know that I came in here for something. I don't remember what I came in here for. Or you're looking right at someone that you know really well, but you can't remember their name. That's not uncommon. And people tend to go down this path of like, oh gosh, my grandma had Alzheimer's and my mom has Alzheimer's. Am I going to get Alzheimer's? Am I next? And I say, no, let's look at your levels. Let's look at what's going on. I bet you're on stress overload. And for many of you right now, I'm going to bet you that's the same thing for you. So we look at those ups and downs. If you say, gosh, I feel so anxious, I'm depressed, I don't know what's wrong with me. This has never happened before, but now I have these mood swings all over the place. That can be cortisol imbalances, adrenal fatigue, and things that we can help to fix. Okay. Increasing fears, increasing concerns, having zero, what I call libido, which is your sex drive, saying, I love you, but stay away, right? That also can be that cortisol imbalance. So this is just a little snapshot. There are so many symptoms. Here's more. The chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. I hate those diagnoses. I hate them because I think it's a catch-all for, we see you, we hear you, we don't know really what's wrong because your lab work looks fine, and maybe you're just a little, And so people get this rubber stamp diagnosis, I call it, of chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. It's real, but there's real symptoms. We got to get to the bottom of it. I have seen so many people who've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue, and they come work with me, and guess what we find out? Their B12 is seriously low. Their vitamin D level is seriously low. I get their levels back where they need to be. They are good to go. They are back feeling fabulous. It's simple things. It's not major, like I'm dying and something bad's happening. No, fix it. Take control of your body. Take control of your symptoms. Do not let anyone convince you. Please, 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 from my heart, do not let anyone convince you, well, you're at that age, or, well, you've been under a lot of stress. Well, you are a single mom. Well, you are a single dad. Well, you do have a crazy job. Yeah, we know all those things, but there's something else going on. Okay. There's something else. So don't accept those lame excuses or diagnoses. If you're having frequent bouts of colds or sinus issues, bronchitis, that can all be stress and cortisol imbalances as well. Here's more. If that wasn't enough for you, the fatigue. Doesn't matter if I sleep 8 hours or 10 hours, you still wake up feeling like I'm so exhausted. That's that crashed mode that we looked at earlier. Okay. People who have had blood sugar that are fine, and all of a sudden later on in adult life, now they've got diabetes, alcoholism, weight loss resistance. I mean, it just goes on and on. Here's a very classic symptom I want you to remember of all the things we've talked about that I see and hear a lot. People say, I've seen 4 neurologists, and I hear this a lot, or I've seen 2 different neurologists and they did scans and nobody can tell me what's what. So now they put me on this medicine to stop me from feeling weird when I get up, lightheaded. I'm like, hold on. Has anyone checked some of your vitamin levels, which we get into? Has anyone looked at your cortisol levels? You could have adrenal fatigue, and it's very common to have that lightheaded feeling when you stand up. Stand up quickly and you're like, ooh, I feel a little off. Or even once you're up a little bit, just feeling a little bit dizzy or lightheaded. And people automatically think, oh, it's in her ear, or, oh, do you have a brain tumor? Oh, whatever. First thing I say is, what's your B12 level? What's your vitamin D level? And let's see if you've got a cortisol situation going on. And we figured out, and yep, that's the problem. Okay. So there's a lot of vague symptoms that get blamed for things that don't need to be. Now, we know if we don't get sleep, we feel horrible. But what I want to share with you, there's true studies that show that lack of sleep absolutely can increase. We know it increases our mental distress. It can turn us into a crabby monster, right? We know that it can just disrupt our sleep altogether. Yeah, the circadian rhythm. Okay, fine. But obesity, cancer, and heart disease, and now hormone disruption have all been linked with lack of sleep. There's tons of studies out with all that. And I think that's pretty fascinating. So, okay. So that just sort of sets the stage of, okay, all right, we got it. We're stressed. What are we going to do about it? So let's talk about some self-care tips. And I purposely chose this little bird sitting here looking out over this beautiful snow for a reason, because one of the self tips that I want to ask you, if you have, is what I call a hermit spot. So when I saw this bird in it, I'm like, that's a perfect picture of a hermit spot. A hermit spot is any place. It doesn't have to be snowy. It could be any place. Warm, cold, breezy, hot, doesn't matter about that. It's a spot that you can go to where you feel like you can just totally decompress, where like the whole world just disappears and you can just breathe. If you don't have a hermit spot, you need to find a hermit spot. And I will beg you to write that down. Hermit spot. That's a place that you don't tell anybody else where your hermit spot is, because if you do, they're going to come find you when you're trying to have your quiet time, right? So hermit spot, you don't share. But it's a place that you can go to, even if it's once a week. I encourage people to get to their hermit spot at least every other day for 5 or 10 minutes. And I will share with you, my hermit spot is the water. I can be so stressed. I can be overwhelmed. I can be in a major funk, but I can go to a body of water. It doesn't matter if it's a lake, an ocean, a stream, whatever it is. Just that water to me is so calming. It doesn't matter if it's fall, winter, whatever, although I love the summertime, but is just go to that place. And I have 2 special places that I go to. St. Mary's City is my hermit spot. And don't come looking for me there, but that's my hermit spot. It's just so beautiful and it's so relaxing and it's so serene. So find a hermit spot for yourself. I have 2 moms who said, my hermit spot is my bathtub. I go into my bathroom. I put, either my diffuser on with essential oils, or I will, one of them lights candles, which I'm trying to talk her out of because they're toxic. But anyway, they go in there and they just create this haven and they have a bath. Now, somebody else said, oh my gosh, I could never do that because there'd be bang, bang, bang on the door. How much longer? When are you going to be out of here? Like, that wasn't calming to them. So you find your hermit spot and don't let anybody talk you out of it or tell you that's a stupid hermit spot. There's no such thing. It's whatever's good for you. Okay. Whatever's good. Now, we know about getting plenty of sleep and all of that stuff, but here's some tips about sleep that I want to share with you that can help. If you're not sleeping well, if you're having any struggles shutting the brain off at night, or you say, Terri, I can go to sleep with no problem, but I can't stay asleep. That's where I struggle. Then here's what I say. Let's talk. Let's dig through I'm going to ask you 1,000 questions and we're going to go through a lot of details and get to the root of what's going on. Excuse me. Everybody has needs. Some people say, oh, I'm good if I get 5 hours of sleep. I say BS, because you know what? You might think you're doing great, but guess what? Your liver, your kidneys, your gut, your spleen, your adrenal glands, all of those organs and more, pituitary, hypothalamus, all of that need more sleep than 5 hours. They just do. And I was a night nurse for years. I worked night shift and I was very sleep deprived. And I didn't realize how bad I felt until I got off of the night shift and started sleeping like normal people do. And I went, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much better. So those of you who work night shift, who work shift work, kudos to you. Hats off to you. Love you, because somebody has to do it. And many of us have done it for a long time, but it will create a huge burden on your body if you don't listen and take care of it. So I especially, hats off to you. If you're one of those people, please, please, please listen. You need that sleep. So, I call one of the tips is creating a sacred space. And what I mean by that is a place where it's dark. If you need darkness, we need darkness, whether you have to have darkening window shades. Some people like to sleep with a mask over their eyes, whatever it is for you that works. Some people like a fan on because they like that white noise. Others like, turn that off. I don't want to hear that while I'm sleeping. I am a huge advocate of essential oils and diffusing. And I diffuse in my bedroom every night, but I have to turn the light off on the diffuser. I don't want the diffuser going when I'm trying to sleep. Others say, oh no, I leave it on. That's my night light. It's whatever works for you. That's why I say know your needs, but create that sacred space. Set a routine. Sometimes people, I might go to bed anywhere from 9 o'clock to midnight or 1 o'clock, just depends. Get into a routine. Your body needs that routine. I'm not saying exactly at that minute you have to go to bed, but if you say, 10:30, I'm in bed. Okay, great. Try to stick to that. Or I stay up later at 11 o'clock every night and I'm good with that. Whatever works for you. Others like, I'm in bed by 7:30. You kidding me? I can't function. That's you. Do you. Okay. But here's what I want to tell you about that bedroom also, creating the space, is there's a lot. We're going to talk about blue light. Right now, all of you are on either your iPhones or your iPads, or you're on your computers as you're looking and talking with me. There's blue light that's being emitted from your camera into that brain. That blue light tells your brain, the pituitary that we talked about earlier, and the pineal gland, and it tells it, we see blue light, it's still daytime, even though we know it's dark outside right now, and it's really not daytime, it's nighttime. But when your brain sees blue light, it tells those glands, don't give them any melatonin yet because it's still daytime. That's a serious phenomenon, serious. So if you're on your iPhones, you're on your iPad, you're on your whatever's till late at night, people say, oh, I read every night. That helps relax me. I say, do you read a real book that you're flipping pages, or do you read on a Kindle? Oh, no, I read on my Kindle, on my iPad, on my whatever. Get off of that for at least an hour prior to bedtime, because that is emitting blue light that's telling your brain, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. Even though you're looking at the clock going, it's late, I got to go to bed because I got to get up tomorrow. Your brain isn't ready for you to go to bed because it's still got that blue light going and it didn't release any melatonin. Once it doesn't see that blue light and it knows it's really nighttime, then the pineal gland can dump out some melatonin for you and help you to sleep. We all have melatonin normally. Okay. Natural light therapy for some people works, 20, 30 minutes a day. And there's specific lamps that you can get that emit that light for you, especially if you suffer from like seasonal affective disorder. They call it SAD, S-A-D. So seasonal affective disorder, which can really wreck your sleep. But when you get away from that blue light and you do that, it will help you tremendously. Now, in a later slide, I have some talking about EMFs, but I want to mention that here. If you sleep with a cell phone next to your bed, get rid of it. Get it out of your room, or put it at least 6 feet away from your head, because you're still getting the electromagnetic energy, the EMFs. People say, oh, but I have it on airplane mode. Oh, I have it on silent mode. I have it on whatever. It's still there. So 6 feet away, all the studies will tell you, have it at least 6 feet away from your head. If you don't have a home phone, I get it. And you're like, hey, this is my only way families can get a hold of me. If there's an emergency, I have to keep my cell phone close by. Put it at least 6 feet away from your bed. Because if you don't, then you're constantly getting that EMF exposure, and that's also keeping you awake. And that is part of it too. It might sound really crazy to you, but I'm telling you, when you do it, people are like, we thought you were nuts. But guess what? Our whole family's doing it now, and it's working. It's working. So we're going to talk about that some more. Walk outside first thing in the morning. If we could, it's easier in the spring and summer and even the fall to go in with your feet, bare feet, into the dirt and get some grounding there. That absolutely really helps. But getting outside and just getting some sun exposure whenever you can will help as well. I'm a huge fan of aromatherapy. I will talk to you about that a little bit later. Want to make sure that we have time. We'll talk about aromatherapy and how I keep myself healthy. I'm not on any prescription meds, and I'm not a 30-year-old, if you hadn't figured that out. I'm on no prescription meds because I don't need them. I keep myself completely healthy with aromatherapy. No joke. All right. Other tips for sleep. Here's the drain the brain. If you're one is like, I lay down, I'm tired, but then my brain's just going, and I can't. Write it down. Take a half an hour, take 20 minutes before you're ready to go to bed, and write down everything that is still needs to be on your to-do list. All the what ifs, they didn't do this, didn't do that, grocery list, whatever it is that's keeping you awake. Got to call this one, got to call that one. Write it down. That's what I call a brain drain. Okay. Drain that brain, write it down, and then it's gone from your head, and then you will sleep. Okay. Music, if that helps you. If you want herbal teas in the evening to help you to calm, absolutely, they're great. But what I would share with you is not all herbal teas are calming. Make sure they're decaf. Chamomile teas, lemon balm, or two that are really detox are great for you. Spearmint. I teach a basic detox program, which is a 28-day whole foods program. Amazing program for jump starting your health. And everybody that follows the program says, I am sleeping better. My joint pain's gone. I don't have the anxiety anymore. Oh my gosh, my gut feels so better. My reflux is gone. I mean, you name it. I could list 10 things right now for you, but I won't. But the one thing I teach them is to drink water, hot water. This is going to sound crazy. A cup of hot water, no tea bags, no coffee, no nothing. Plain hot water with half of a lemon squeezed into it, the juice from half of a lemon in there, and drink that down. It is the most calming. It's the most healing for your gut. And that's why we do it in the morning. It jumpstarts your metabolism and it calms the gut down. But it's also nice to do that at night. Very calming, very calming. And I know it sounds crazy. Exercise, exercise can help. I'm not going to go there for that. Here's the EMF thing I want to talk about, sleep disruption. So EMFs, as I said a minute ago, is electromagnetic fields or forces. That's all the 5G, high-powered Wi-Fi. Everybody's all excited about it. I'm not, because we are frying our brains. You see this picture, and that's why I chose it. We're frying our brains. And so get off all the electronic devices at least an hour before you want to go to bed. Have a conversation with somebody for a change. That could be different, right? Read a real book, a magazine, something that you have to turn pages. Shut off your Wi-Fi at night. I've had more families I've worked with who had children who were having behavior issues in school, behavior issues at home, families saying, I don't know who they are anymore. They're just like not our kid. And they're so disruptive and whatever. I say, do they sleep with an iPad in their bed? Yeah, they have 15 minutes. It's on a timer. And where does it go when they're done? Oh, they just slide it off to the side of them and they sleep with it in their bed. Get it out of their room. Get it out of their room. If everybody would do that in the family, and or connect all your Wi-Fi to one power strip, and then whoever's, like an hour before you're going to go to bed, click that one button, shut all the Wi-Fi off. You don't need it on all night while you're sleeping. Why do you have it on? Shut it off. People say, oh, it's inconvenient. Do you want to sleep? Well, shut it off. And when families do that, I'm telling you, the whole house is sleeping well. They shut the Wi-Fi off at night, turn it back on when they get up in the morning, good to go. Because all that EMF stuff is not radiating your brain, okay? Survey your bedroom for risk. Get those phones away from you. Get your phones away from you. Now, sake of time, we're doing good. I want to talk about aromatherapy, and then I promise a couple of things, and then we will have time at the end for questions that you have. Aromatherapy, very quickly, for anyone who's not familiar with it, essential oils. They are, I think for some people, they're touted as like witch oils, or, oh my gosh, that's witchcraft, or that's like voodoo, or that's whatever. And I used to think that as well. I've been using them for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years in March. I diffuse every night in my bedroom. I diffuse all day long in my office or at home or wherever I am. I keep myself and my husband healthy. We have grandchildren who love them. They ask for them. They are amazing. And it's all simply by smell. So literally, I was a little stuffed up this just earlier. So I took a drop. Hopefully you can see this. Took a drop of, this is RC, stands for respiratory congestion. Okay. Put it in my hand, rubbed together. And I literally rubbed it on my neck, dotted it under my nose, and I can smell it while I'm talking with you. And that's keeping me cleared up. I could also take that and rub it and literally just cup my hands. Oh, it's heavenly. Just cup my hands over my nose and breathe that in. You say, what? You're just breathing that in, and how's that helping you? Because those oils, whether you put it on the bottoms of your feet, on your hands, rub it on your gut, rub it in your hair, rub it wherever you want to rub it, they get absorbed and they go into this system in your brain, the limbic system of your brain. And that's the area in your brain that controls smell. It controls your emotions, your memory, your whole nervous system, and recall of things. Have you ever been in a store somewhere and you smell someone, you're like, oh, that lady smells like my mom who's in heaven. That lady smells just like my mom, because you smell that perfume or whatever they're wearing. That's your limbic system in your brain, your olfactory nerve saying, we recognize that smell. That's my memory saying, oh, that's a good smell. Likewise, if you had a bad reaction, I was sick as a dog when I was pregnant with my first child for the first 3 months. Evening sickness, not morning sickness, and the smell of popcorn still to this day makes me, I hate it. Most people love it. I don't like it. It reminds me of that pregnancy. It's crazy. That's all your limbic system. So I'm telling you, it absolutely works. It works. It works. And why am I telling you this? Because, and I showed you here, remember back in the very beginning when I set the stage for us and I said the boss, the CEOs and all that of the company, the hypothalamus in your brain is what's in charge of our stress. It is what's in charge of our stress. That hypothalamus is right there within that whole limbic system area and helps to calm us down, helps us to feel better, helps us to get through the days. And there are oils specifically for all of that. And I'll share a couple with you. I love, love, love one. This one is in a roll-on. So it's really nice because I don't have to drop it like I showed you the other one. All I simply have to do is roll it on here. I can't see you, but I'm hoping you can see this. Can't see myself because I'm seeing the screen. But literally you can just roll it. I can roll it wherever I wanted to, rub it in. Oh, I'm going to sleep good tonight. This one's Stress Away, a blend of multiple oils. And it's amazing. And so for any of you who are feeling like before you're ready to bite somebody's head off, you just get some Stress Away, or you're getting ready to go for a job interview and you're scared to death, you put Stress Away on you, it can help you amazingly well. I can help you to connect to get this at my wholesale cost so you don't pay full price for it. There's also one called Tranquil, which I also love. Same thing. You could put on the bottoms of your feet. You could put it on your neck. You could rub it wherever. When I worked in long-term care, one of my most exciting, I don't know, memories that I'll never forget. I was director of nursing in a long-term care facility. We had a dementia unit. And when I first started there, people were sitting around doing absolutely nothing all day long. And I said, what is this all about? Well, they used to like to paint, but they can't do it anymore. She stopped eating. She's losing weight. She's been falling. And I'm like, stop. We're going to fix this. I implemented, with the permission of the owners, aromatherapy in that building, but particularly in that unit with the folks who have dementia. We were diffusing every day. We would take some of those oils, rub it on the necks with family permission, rub it on their necks or rub it on their feet at night to help them to sleep. The night staff thought I was a hero because people weren't climbing out of bed and falling anymore. Our fall rates and fracture rates went way down. People who were not eating, now were eating again. People who used to dance and sing were singing again because they were alive. They were alive. And that was all because of aromatherapy and love. That was it. It's amazing, you all. It's going into that limbic system in your brain. Okay. I will skip over this for sake of time. We can always come back to it, but this is just a concoction of 3 oils that I love for people who are working on adrenal gland support: clove, nutmeg, and rosemary. And I can tell you more individually about that, but we rub it on their adrenal glands twice a day and their adrenals are healed. Here's some of the other oils I talked about. We'll get into that some more. A couple things we talked about for evening time and helping you to sleep, because that's all part of that whole holistic health and stress reduction. We talked about turning off the phones. I talked about adding lemon, squeeze half of a lemon, or you can, if you have lemon oil, an essential oil, you can drop that into the vitality oil. I'm only speaking of Young Living oils because I know where they come from, and I know that you can drink them. There are a lot of oils that are synthetic, toxic, cheap junk that are being sold out in the stores. I'm not a fan. I have tried 7 companies. I went back to Young Living because of the purity. You can drink those oils. So when I say put it in water, I'm only talking about Young Living. I can't make any claims for any other oils, okay? There's lots of synthetic toxic gunk out there. Epsom salt baths. Epsom salts are very detoxing, very detoxing. So if you're just like need to just, first of all, help your skin and take good care of your skin, Epsom salt bath is great for that. 1 cup of Epsom salt in a bath full of water, or if you want to start with just half a cup, that's fine. I wouldn't go any less than a half cup. 1/2 to 1 cup of Epsom salt in the bath water, and you can add some lavender oil to it. Oh my goodness. So relaxing, so detoxifying, so therapeutic, and it will help you to sleep for sure. I have a granddaughter who loves, we make bath bombs and put lavender in them. So lavender bath bombs, and she loves taking bath with that because it's so relaxing. It's just awesome. Okay. So here's again about diffusers and then stretching, any kind of muscles, tension, all of that stuff. That could be another whole session we could do. And I think maybe you've had some sessions on exercise, hopefully, and hopefully some good stretching. Okay. But the most important things to me are get off that Wi-Fi, get away from those phones, even your TVs. If anybody sleeps with the TV on, I didn't mention that. Shut it off. Shut it off. TVs also emit, because of the Wi-Fi, all the smart TVs, they emit that EMF stuff that we talked about. Okay. So the Wi-Fi, and it can fry your brain. It can keep you awake is what it's doing. It's still stimulating the brain, and the brain is not putting out melatonin because it's sensing all of that blue light and saying, it's not nighttime yet, even though it might be 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I've been on the computer late at night, sometimes working on something, and I'm like, I'm tired, but why am I not sleepy? Well, hello, dumb Terry, because you're on the computer. So your brain's not putting out any melatonin because it still thinks it's daytime. Okay. That is a big, big tip. Shut off that Wi-Fi, do what you need to do. Now, we got started a little bit late, so we're close to 15 minutes. I'm going to just a 5-minute quick thing about grieving, because some of the stress that many of you have is related to the anticipation of the holidays and the grieving. Or your stress might be that you're trying to help someone else who's grieving, and you're like, I don't know what to do for them. I don't know how to help them. And that can be so stressful. And that is stress not only on their adrenal glands, but that's stressful on your adrenal glands too. So I'm just going to take less than 5 minutes and talk really quickly about grieving and tell you, unfortunately, I have a lot of personal experience with this as well as professional experience. Also was a hospice nurse, so lots of experience professionally and personally. Had a very healthy 38-year-old husband drop dead from a massive heart attack when I was 36 years old. That was instant grief. Go through it. I'm here to tell you, you can survive it. So if any of you are listening and you're in that situation, I am living proof to you that you will survive it. I've had some pretty catastrophic other deaths with family members and people that you can and will survive it. But I can tell you there are ways to go through it well and ways to not go through it well. So very quickly, rules about grieving. There are no rules. There absolutely are no rules. There is no timeline. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, get through the first year and you're going to be fine. Or don't say to someone else, look, once you get through the first birthday and the first anniversary and the first this, you'll be okay. No, it's all different for everyone. So if you're the person grieving, just know that you have to allow yourself to be human. If you're helping someone through that grieving process, allow them to be human. Allow them to have bad days. Allow them to have good days. All the stress that we talk about with life and the medications and the physical and the emotional and all that stuff, that stress that affects the body the way we just talked about it with all the different body systems is the same stress of grief that can cause those same issues for your body systems. And that's why I wanted to throw this little extra tidbit in here tonight, because we're in the midst of the holidays, and the holidays for many people can be the worst time ever. Dreaded times, because they're like, my loved one's not here and I don't want to be dealing with all this stuff. Grief can also be, let me just say this, grief might not be the death of anyone. Grief could be, I've lost my job. Grief is, we're in the middle of year number 2 of pandemic stuff and I'm sick of it. That's grief. Grief can be, I know many people who say, I'm grieving for my country. I'm with you. You know, grief can be anything. So it's not just about death. Grief is whatever it is to you, but it's when we're hurting, when our heart is hurting, when we're aching, when we're just miserable. That's grief. So I share with you part of that healing, and part of what I share with people in the sense of when I work with clients, it's not just about physical health. We talk a lot about emotional and spiritual health and all of that as well, because it's all a package. It all goes together to help your overall wellness. Okay. So be real about it, share what's going on and say, I need some help. I need some help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness at all. And accepting that help is not only therapeutic for you because someone has helped you, but it's also therapeutic for the person that's helping you because they want to do something to help you and they don't know what to do. I have so many people say, I'd love to help them, but I don't know how to help them. I don't know what to do. And every time I say something, I say the wrong thing. Been there, done that, right? Yeah. So I share that with you. It's just, no timelines. There's no rules. Here's some other tips, especially for coping with holidays. Give yourself permission to be human. Did I already say that? Yep. It's here again on purpose because you need to hear it again and again. Give yourself permission to be human. Choose what you want to do this year. If you are that person that's trying to get through and cope with all this, choose what you want to do, not what 50,000 people are telling you you should be doing. Oh, get over it. Oh, come on. Look at the bright side. Right now, there might not feel like there's a bright side, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. I also would share with you, if you need to disappear, you need to isolate, just be honest and tell people, hey, I appreciate that you guys are trying to do this thing on Saturday, but I am just not up for it. Please know I love you and I thank you for it, but I'm going to stay home. I'm okay. I don't need my phone blowing up. I just need some quiet time, but thank you and I love you. It's okay to do that. When you explain, don't just disappear, because then people worry about you and they'll have the police after looking out for you to make sure they'll be having the, what do they call it? The call where they make sure, welfare call, to make sure that you're okay. So let them know ahead of time. I'm okay. Well, I'm really not okay. I'm hurting. I don't want to come to this, whatever it is. Thank you for the invite, but I'm going to stay home. Don't worry about me. Don't feel guilty. Do not feel guilty about that. And one of the things I always like to share too is anticipatory grief. If a lot of times the thought of that holiday coming, the thought of the birthday, the thought of the anniversary, the thought of the death date, the day itself is not half as bad as we've worked ourselves up to think it's going to be. That's what I call anticipatory grief. We're anticipating that day being horrendous. And then it might be bad, but it's not as bad as we thought it was going to be. So don't assume the worst automatically. It doesn't always have to be that way. Okay. And focus what you like to do, what you want to do with the holidays and what you need, not I'm going to keep everybody happy and off my back. That doesn't work. If you're someone who maybe is not grieving, but you're trying to help others, here's a couple quick thoughts. Again, I already said it. There's no timeline for grief. People start to heal the moment they feel heard. This is the most important thing I could share with you about helping others. I know this personally. I know this professionally. People start to heal the moment they feel heard. If they say, I am so down, I don't know if I can endure another week of this. You don't say, look at the bright side. You criticize or you judge, or, you say, hey, snap out of it. Come on, look, you've got this, this, this. No, you heard them just say, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know if I can go another week like this. You say, I'm really sorry that you're feeling that way. What can I do to support you? That's what you say. You don't say, I know just how you feel, because guess what? You don't know how they feel. I don't know how they feel. Even if we've been through that situation, I've been through a sudden death of a spouse. I would never go visit someone who was a sudden, became a widow or widower suddenly and say, I know just how you feel. That happened to me. No, I don't. We're all different. So what you say is sometimes nothing, and I'll get to that in a second. Silence is okay. But what you can say to them is, I'm sorry that you're hurting like this. How can I help you? Or I'm here to listen. And then just zip the lip up, hold their hand, rub their back, whatever it is, and listen. That's what they need. They need to be validated that their feelings are okay, they're not crazy, and that they're going to be okay. So you meet them where they are, okay? Allow them to feel their feelings and never say, I know just how you feel. Yep. Crying is okay. Guys, hear me out. Crying is okay. Men and women need to cry. It makes us feel better. Kids, it's okay for them to cry too. It's very therapeutic. Have you ever said, if I could just have a good cry, I'd be fine? Right? Silence is golden. Your presence, as I said, makes the best presence. It absolutely does. Your presence, your physical presence, is the best present you could ever give someone. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing and hope that this brings us back where we're supposed to be. Jackie, feel free to jump in.
There we go.
I hit stop sharing, but it's still, there we go. Let's see. Are we back?
You are back on my end. Yep.
Okay. Very good.
Well, thank you so much, Terri.
Absolutely.
That was wonderful. I think the two things that definitely resonated for me, and I'll say this as we kind of give people a couple seconds to throw any questions that you might have for Terri over into the comment sections on YouTube or Facebook. So the two things that definitely resonated with me, the hermit spot, I'm using that.
Oh, yes.
I'm definitely going to use that. So my husband's
crazy,
definitely his garage. He's out there working on making chairs for Christmas right now. So it's great. I think that everybody needs something like that. And then I think that the grief this holiday season, especially being that we're still in a time of COVID, there's grief for not only missing a person, but I think there's also a grief of missing the normalcy of the pre-COVID holidays that we had. So I think that some of those tips that you gave are really great for leading into this kind of second go around with our COVID Christmas. So, and other holidays as we lead through this season.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, the big thing is it's different for everyone. So you have to recognize where people are, meet them where they are. You have to look for yourself and say, here's what I'm doing, but what can I do for myself? And I think for everyone, even beyond the grief part, it's just getting through the stress of the holidays. Be your own advocate. Really, really strive to say, what's the one thing, even hopefully after tonight, what's the one thing that I could do differently? What's the one thing I could do better? Who can I reach out to and say, okay, I'm going to stop being stubborn and proud, and I want your help. Like, that's really hard to do, but it's so, so empowering once you do that, and very, very helpful. So, yep. Tanya, I don't have an ability here. You had asked to drop my information in the chat. I can't write it in the chat, so I don't know if there's a way to share that with her, Jackie, or not. But right in Leonardtown, I'm happy to help any of you with individual questions you may have. But yeah.
Yep. So I posted back a comment from the HSMP account with your website, at least. I know that your email and all of that information is up on your website. So Tania, feel free to follow up with her there. I think we also have a meeting. I have a meeting with her on Monday, so I can also touch base with her then as well.
Yeah. Okay, great.
And then it doesn't look like we're having any other questions come through. But if anybody does have questions that pop up afterwards, feel free to email us. Again, it's stmaryspartnership@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to reach out to Terri to get a follow-up moving forward.
Sounds great. I thank you again for the opportunity to be here, and for all of you, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays for all of you, and just thank you for carving out time. This was kudos to you for listening right now when you probably have a list of 10 other things you could be doing. So
thank you so much, Terri. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.